people that were PhD holders in IT. There were computer programmers. There was just everything that you can imagine that they needed, they went after. They brought these people in, and then essentially they tortured them in order that they would work 17-hour days developing AI softwares that were never seen before. I remember with one... never seen before. I remember with one young lady that we helped get out of the scam compound. I mean, she was brought in and she had a PhD in computer engineering. And she said to me, I've never seen technologies like this ever. I've never seen technologies like this ever in the world. We never studied anything like this, but yet I was asked to make something that didn't exist. And the compounds themselves gave her access to anything she wanted. Whatever she wanted, they could get in for her so that she could develop these AI technologies. So that today we see it, different agents, different news groups and stuff have reported on it. And you kind of hear, oh, well, there's this new technology that shows like, you could have a conversation with a robot, an AI, graphic, and you would never even know that they're AI. You wouldn't know that they're not real.
Hearing Judith say this makes me feel a bit hopeless. It's just the sheer scale and power of this industry. The way it's so untouchable, yet in plain sight. Scamming is really, really lucrative. And these shady organizations, military juntas, they're experiencing this period of fantasy wealth and freedom. They want some custom cutting-edge piece of AI technology, not a problem, they just get it built. Or they want some new complex of multi-story office buildings in a field, no worries, they can get that built too. Anything they want, they can do it. But actually, Judah was telling me that for some of the farms, all of this power seems to be going to their heads in kind of weird ways. And one of them is how they approach torture and punishment. And especially in the farm that Q got sent to.
They already had the most horrific forms of torture. It is becoming so much worse. There is no humanity left there. So where we saw it was beatings and tasers and black rooms and being strung up by your arms for days at a time, it was never enough. And it kind of went through this period of time where there was grown men would be spanked all day long until they were black and blue on their backsides. It became this almost sadistic fetish of the bosses that they had to punish them, and they were no longer being tasered or beaten, punched, bruised. They were being spanked on a daily basis until they were so black and blue. Also the females, not just the males. It took on this really disturbing kind of almost fetish sexual fantasy, and then that led to the increase of sexual abuse and rape. And it's horrendous when a greater percentage of people that come out no longer just testify, and that's male and female, that no longer just testify to beatings or testify to, tasers, but testify to the fact that they have been raped while they are there. And it is now such a common occurrence inside that scum compound. So we saw what was abuse by more psychological, and then psychological went to just absolute physical trauma. Which then went to this kind of sadistic level of fetish fantasy, and now moved into rape from their leaders, and it's horrendous. And if you can dream it up or think about it, even the worst of the worst horror movies you've ever seen or thought of, they go far beyond that. It's just never enough. They're always looking for the next way in which they can make it worse for someone.
It's so bizarre. When you're saying this, I'm thinking about like criminal profiling that I've read, like books by FBI criminal profilers who talk about how serial killers, their behaviors evolve as they kind of mature into their careers in homicide. You know, it's got that kind of ring to it. Like, yeah, this isn't really doing it for me anymore. I'm going to try some rape. You know, like that sounds pretty flippant, but it's a bit like that.
Yeah, it is. And I've been so unfortunate to have witnessed even the murders. Have witnessed even the murders that have taken place, because there are chat groups where those of us that are deeply within the investigation side of it, or deeply within the victim side of it and the criminology side.
Many people will use the same doll.
Within the victim side of it and the criminology side of it, there are chat groups that go around where the leaders or the criminal bosses or those inflicting the crimes actually murder individuals and then post about it. They share the torture, they share the what happens to their victims, and then they share pictures of their dead body and they almost celebrate it. So it's exactly what you said. It's like the profiling, that it just gets worse and worse until they actually celebrate the torture in which they commit, and then they post it online. They post on these chat groups between other bosses of other companies in order to almost say, like, meet me at this place or do me one better. You know, how can you do the next one? And they joke about where they can bury the bodies and where nobody can find them. Where they can bury the bodies and where nobody can find them and nobody cares.
That's just one example of the way these groups are becoming more depraved with time. But there's another. And just a heads up, dark rooms and black rooms, they're the same thing.
One of the victims that came out had asked me one day, did you hear about the red rooms? And I had not at that time. And he said it's a room where they actually put the deceased persons or the victims that have passed away into those rooms until their corpses rot. And then they lock people in those rooms with the either rotting corpses, or they remove the corpses and leave them. But there is the smell, the stench of that room. He said even when the door opens, the stench of that room, he said even when the door opens, you cannot stop yourself from vomiting. You cannot stop yourself from being physically ill just at the smell of those rooms. And they lock people in there for days.
Okay. How often are you seeing, so you're getting these people out, you're doing these extractions, how often are you seeing people sort of permanently disabled, or, you know, like, is it quite frequently that people are really injured when they get out?
Everybody has their story and their injuries. A lot of the big scam compounds actually don't let the victims out until after many of their injuries have healed in some way. So even if you paid a ransom of $5,000 US, $10,000 US, it's likely the compound will keep you for several weeks later until all your bruises settle, or your cuts close, or your marks from the handcuffs are much lessened before they actually let you out.
And that sort of brings us...
No worries.
Judah's main job these days is rescuing people from scams.
Safe trip.
So here's what we're on this and how to get both small humans and cavalier out. But I should flag, I'm not going to go real deep into the details. Judah's ability to get people out kind of rests on his private relationships and his local knowledge, which he doesn't want to give up for obvious reasons.
So the rescues, I mean, you use the word rescue loosely sometimes. So often now the victims actually have to negotiate their own release. They're being asked to pay ransoms. So you're explaining that it's one of the only ways out. But then one of the problems is even if they pay the ransom, they're either not necessarily released, so that takes a negotiation to get them out, or they're released and unable to they don't know where they're going. They don't know how to get out. And so you're trying to meet them at that place where then you can walk them through the process. Or they're sold to another compound. And that's really where we try to... Sold to another compound. And that's really where we try to intervene in that moment of time between one compound and another. And that's really where the rescues, I think, take place.
Judo was pivotal in freeing both Small Q and Catalea. In our next and final episode, we're going to come back to Q and his rescue. But for now, let's revisit Catalea to learn how she got out and how she got home to her 9-year-old boy. That's after the break. Stay with us.
Get ahead with a career in the Australian Defence Force. Home ownership. Get help paying for it. Healthcare assistance for your family. Make your impact. Search ADF Careers.
Welcome back. So, you remember Catalea, right? She was the Filipino mother from episode 2. And just like Q, she's been fighting for survival. She's been scamming all day, every day, and she's also faced violence and punishment. Although luckily, she never ended up in a dark room, but she was still desperate to escape.
I have to think, how can I get out? And I started to ask help for Thailand people because they're the one who got in and out in Myanmar with no problems.
The social order seems very defined in these compounds, and according to Catalea, the Thais, they're the top dogs, second only to the Chinese.
Thailands are powerful in Myanmar. They are untouchable. And then I asked the one Thailand boy to help me. And then he said, there is no problem with the car. We have the contact. But the problem is the money. If you have the money, we can get the car.
What this Thai guy is saying is that if Catalea can provide $1,000 USD, he'll get her driven out of the compound. And by some miracle, she did actually have $1,000. Remember, Catalea was recruited under a very different process to Q. She was recruited by friends who were actually earning money, and initially Catalea was too, or at least for the first month, where she was paid in crypto. But then they stopped paying her as she became less obedient. So when this guy from Thailand asked for $1,000, Catalea was actually able to pay. And then he promised to meet her at 8 a.m. the next morning, but warned her, don't be late.
And then the boss said, if you did not go out on the compound at 8 in the morning, you have 2 options. We will sell you or we will kill you. I only have 2 options. I didn't sleep, Julian.
Oh
really?
My God. So you saying that they're like, you either need to get in that car and it's going to cost you $1,000 USD, or if this somehow doesn't work, we're going to kill you.
Or they will sell you on the other company.
You'll get sold into a different compound.
I mean, yes, different gate. And you don't know where they will sell it. So when I go out, one car was waiting for me outside. And that car is different from the picture they sent to me that will pick me up. So I got scared. And then I didn't understand them because they're talking Burmese and Thais. And then they told me that I will pass a river. That is the time that I got scared because I didn't pass the river, right? Yeah, but I think it's my time. I think I accepted it like maybe, okay, I will get killed. But I think it's my time. It's my time because I am very scared to hear the river. I really get scared. And then the driver of the car is not a Thai. It's the big boss of the military in the Burmese. He is the driver. And then I used the Google Translate. I told the driver, sir, I have a son. Please bring me to the river alive. Please don't kill me. I'm begging you. Then the Burmese military guy just laughed at me. Yeah, it's fine, he said.
Oh, God,
yeah,
that's
like
so
it's
nerve-wracking.
normal.
Yeah, I won't kill you. Haha.
I said, don't kill me. Like it's a normal thing with them, right? Then we passed the river. The river is so small, like 5 meters away.